Hello everyone, bringing you a video today which somewhat follows on from the previous video looking at Royal Navy and Royal Canadian Navy ratings in Hong Kong in 1945. And what we're going to be looking at in this video is the Lanchester Pouches, which were part of the web equipment worn by the recreation of the Royal Navy rating in that video, worn as part of that recreation rather. These are an interesting set of pouches. I've actually got them the wrong way round, I think, as I have it there. The right hand pouch should have the loading tool pouch on it. We're going to look at these in a bit more detail, and for that purpose, of course, I will put them on the ground on the blanket and we can have a look at the various design features of these in detail. Designed, of course, to take the magazine, the 50 round magazine for the Lanchester, which gives them they are huge, it gives them a rather ridiculous proportions, very, very clumsy things to carry on your web equipment, but we'll have a look at that in more detail in the course of the video. Okay, so as said previously in the video looking at Royal Navy and Royal Canadian Navy ratings in Hong Kong in 1945, I did say I'd make a video looking at the Lanchester Pouches in more detail. These are absurdly large. They're quite an eccentric bit of web equipment in that regard, but of course necessitated by the 50 round magazine produced for the Lanchester machine carbine, and we have an example of one of those here. I'll bring this up into shot. There it is. So with a massive magazine, you require massive ammunition pouches to carry it. Obviously very similar to the Sten magazine, but longer with the greater capacity. As it's mounted on the side of the weapon, it does stick out quite a way from the side, quite a clumsy thing, but that's what they went with, so there it is. That's the magazine these are designed to carry. Now the pouches themselves, obviously the length is necessitated by that, but they do follow sort of standard British manufacture of the time. Obviously in the closures used, the press studs on little straps, and the overall construction in terms of the design of the lids and everything on them. The design obviously draws from 1937 pattern with the piece at the bottom here and so forth. So they are similar to other pouches of the time in that regard, the general details, which makes sense of course, being manufactured by the same companies. These are shown here as you would wear them, so if we had a belt here and they were being worn, this would be on the wearer's right, and that has the pouch for the loading tool, which is designed obviously for loading the magazines. And the little pouch on the front here was provided for carrying that. As I say, all the fixtures are standard, so we have press stud on a little strap there, and that's a standard element of British webbing of this time. These two aren't a matched pair, they don't match in terms of dates, and as we'll see in a minute, the manufacturer actually is a little bit, in terms of wearing them together, they're a little bit awkward. We'll talk about that in a moment as well. This example, the left-hand pouch, is 1942, JA and H, you can see there, the manufacturer. Quite a nice clear stamp in there. And the other one, the right-hand pouch, is again JA and H, 1943, as you can see there. Now these are a type of Lanchester pouch, well, they're examples of the Lanchester pouch designed for use with the 1937 pattern web equipment. As already said, they could also be used with the 1919 pattern, as discussed in the previous video, looking at Royal Navy and Royal Canadian Navy ratings in Hong Kong. The belt from that system was obviously completely compatible with these, but these are designed for use with 1937 pattern. During the course of the Second World War, the Royal Navy decided to standardise on 1937 pattern, as did the RAF, moving away from the previous sets of equipment they'd had individually contracted for, the 1925 pattern for the RAF, the 1919 pattern, and continuing use of the 1908 pattern by the Royal Navy. They decided to move away from that and standardise on 1937 pattern. So these are designed for use with that. Originally, the Lanchester pouches had been designed for use with the 1908 pattern web equipment, and that can be exemplified by the back of the pouches here. You can see the lines marked here on the pouches for the wider fittings to allow these to be attached to the 1908 belt, and there are examples of the 1908 pattern compatible Lanchester pouches on Khaki Web. I'll put a link to that down below in a pinned comment if you'd like to go and look at those. Many of them were modified, and if we look at the 1942 example here, you can actually see we still have stitching along these lines here, which suggests that this was actually manufactured as a 1908 compatible Lanchester pouch and was then modified with the smaller C-clips to allow it to be fitted to the 1937 pattern belt. You can see here, if I actually put the C-clips next to each other, when I said it's slightly awkward to wear these together, there's a good, well, just over half an inch of difference there probably in the height of these, given where this has actually been stitched on at the back. So not the greatest attention to detail there. You can see again, if I actually line up the bottom seams there, how much difference there is in both the buckle height and the height of the C-clips. But as I say, that's just an element of the manufacture there. Obviously, during wartime, they weren't too concerned about that. They were just knocking them out of the factories as quickly as possible. Element of the design, which is necessitated by the height of these pouches, is the strap at the top here. The buckle is set down here to give a similar distance between the C-hooks and the buckle as you would find on other 1937 pattern pouches, and obviously brace attachments and so forth. This means you can wear these with the L-straps hooked into the top of the buckle, as you would see with obviously other 1937 pattern pouches. It's designed to be compatible with, but that means that these buckles are set quite low down on the back of the pouch. You've got a good height there above the buckle that's sort of hanging around, flopping around away from the brace. So you have this strap with a press stud which loops around, and obviously that means that if you're wearing the L strap, you can hook the L strap onto the buckle and then you can button this around both so the pouch is supported. Quite an awkward way of doing things, but part of the design necessitated by the very odd design of these. Now, these weren't only used by Royal Navy ratings, they're also used by Royal Marines, who were sometimes issued the Lanchester as well. There are photographs of this. I'll cut one in here to have a look at. You can see that the haversack is worn on the back here in battle order, and that really necessitates having the buckle set where it is, and that necessitates having the extra strap up on the back of the pouches in order to stop them sagging away from the body due to their height. There's not a huge amount more to say about these. One detail I will mention is that they were made in RAF Blue Grey. The RAF originally had intended to contract for the Lanchester as well, but didn't. They went with the Sten in the end, and the Lanchester became purely a Royal Navy issue weapon. So it's occasionally you'll see RAF examples which have actually been stripped back and re-dyed to khaki from blue grey, which is quite interesting. Again, there's examples of those on Khaki Web, and you do occasionally see both blue grey and khaki examples cut down to make Sten magazine pouches, which is quite interesting. But as I say, in their original Lanchester form, they're a very distinctive and quite an interesting, if clumsy, piece of British kit. So there we are. I do hope you found that interesting. It just goes to show that weapons design sometimes doesn't take into account the design of personal equipment, sort of the practicality of it. And these are certainly some of the tallest pouches I think you'll find as part of military web equipment. Very, very odd design, but necessary due to the weapon and the design of the magazine. I do hope you found that interesting, as I always say. If you have and you would like to see more from the channel, then please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. And whether you're new subscribing or you've previously subscribed, please do make sure you hit the little bell, the little notification button down below, which will of course alert you when I upload future videos. If you'd like to support the channel, you can. There's both a Patreon and a PayPal link down below, and a massive thank you to those who sort of think the videos are worth supporting through those two methods. It's very much appreciated. Thank you as ever, everyone who supports the channel. It's very kind of you indeed. If you'd like to follow the channel on social media, you can. There's Facebook, Instagram and Twitter all linked down below. And if you'd like to get in contact but you don't really use social media, there is of course an email address down below as well. But that's everything I wanted to cover in this video. So until next time, bye for now.